Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that goes to the cinema every week, sees a couple of things, stays at home, sees a couple of things, maybe TV series, maybe films, rates them all out of 5 and sees where our money has been better spent this week. This week, we're going to try and be nice and efficient because one of us has a quickly dying phone battery and needs to talk about some stuff. So, joining me as always on the Isle of Wight are Sharon Bolland.
Hello.
Sean Harris, owner of the said rapidly dying phone, and a London correspondent, Holly Nesling.
Hello.
Right, and we are going to fire straight into this. And please bear with us as you will figure out what films we're going to be talking about this week. And we are going to kick off with the wonderfully titled Cocaine Bear, which both Sean and Sharon saw in cinemas. So, which one of you wants to take away and tell us what this is about?
Is it okay if Sharon can take it away? What do you want? Yeah, no.
No, you do it, Shawnee.
Okay, this is based on a story in the 80s, so it takes place in the 1980s, where there was a plane would come and they drop bags of cocaine into the Chattanooga forest, and then to be reclaimed later. But an accident happens, and the chap who jumps out the plane and kicks all the stuff out the plane as an accident. So you've got all these bags of cocaine scattered around the forest, and bears are pretty curious creatures, aren't they? Really, so they're going to have a little snuffle around and see what's going on. And then there's a side story with you've got like a couple of school-age children that decide to skip school and go into the forest to as they were supposed to paint the waterfall, and so off they go. The kids go into the forest. You've got a park ranger who's like really and yeah, you've got a park ranger who's okay, but she's got a rather big magnum gun. So you've got all these characters building up. You've got the Ray Liotta, it's his last film, and so you've got these bunch of crooks, obviously, like that need to go to reclaim the stuff. Ray Liotta's like, we got to get this stuff back, and so it's all setting up, and then you've got a group of like punk kids that rob people and stuff, and so so anyway, it all sets up, but it's like, oh, there's a bear in the forest. So you've got all these different groups. Oh yeah, and there's a policeman as well that's after catching them. And yeah, so I mean, it's based. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, Sean, I know you don't have that much time, but I just have to say that every time, without fail, whenever I hear the premise of this film, I just break out in a grin. It's just it's just hilarious.
Well,
as a premise.
Put it this way, I went to see it on Monday, and then a couple of friends were going to see it on Tuesday, and so I went with them to watch it again. So I have actually seen it twice.
Oh yeah.
In succession of days, yeah. And it's just hokum fun. It's just like hokum fun. It's pretty, I mean, you've got like I think it's in the trade as well, but you got like the it's very bloody. There's a lot of a lot of limbs flying about and all that.
There's a lot of shots in the trailer that you're like, there is no way that does not end with somebody's limb being ripped off. There's no way you're editing that in which that doesn't end with that character being dead.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you know me, my little foibles with like things that have got to be right. Well, I thought this was, and all right, maybe some of the characters were overdone, but I quite liked it because I thought some of the things that were happening could actually happen, and I could relate to some of those characters. In fact, what was really funny yesterday, when I come out of Tuesday, was when I come out of the cinema, there were some ex-students who looked just like the punks in the forest, and it was quite funny. I said they could have been in that movie, and they were like, yeah, they were really friendly, obviously, but and
I can just imagine Sean going, "Oh, when I was a teacher, if only I had a bear that was fueled on cocaine." The students.
I had a great time with this movie. I really did. I mean, I was a bit skeptical. I thought, what's going on? But I had a really, really good time. I was laughing, especially with the bear. I thought it was terrifically well done. I don't know what Sharon's thoughts were on it, and don't know what.
Okay, so
I haven't. Yeah, I saw it as well. I thought it was very funny, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's hilarious.
There were some scenes with the sort of the ranger, and well, some of yeah, some of the scenes were just, they weren't genuinely laugh out loud funnies. I think at one point I was the only one laughing in the cinema because it just one scene particularly where someone got shot by mistake.
Yeah,
I thought it was just really funny.
I tell you what comes to mind. I don't suppose any of you guys have ever seen Sausage Party, have you?
Oh, I have totally seen Sausage. I have seen Sausage Party. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know the bit with the. If you imagine, do you remember the bit with like the little bit of chewing gum in the wheelchair? And it comes out, goes do 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 do, and he's like, no, you probably don't remember that bit, but anyway, it's like that. Yeah. So,
No.
But yeah, that
there
reminded
were
me.
some funny scenes in it. There, the characters were a real mixed bunch.
Yeah.
Some of them were more comic than others. Like there's like a wildlife surveyor who was, he was just like a panto sort of character.
He was really,
but
yeah.
He was, yeah. It was funny because part of me was thinking, is this supposed to be this funny or is it just accidentally this funny? But I think I think it was like this black sort of horror comedy. But I thought it was funny.
I think the leg bit was the best with the bear, in the cocaine. It was almost like, yeah, that's funny, man. I'm not big on thing, but yeah, I laughed both times I saw this, and I laughed.
I'm really, really happy to hear that because I had high hopes for this film, and so far the reviews have not been that great. So right, okay. Yeah, the reviews have not been that great. So I'm actually really, really happy to hear this because I was thinking that I was hoping it was not going to be another one of those wastes of a great premise. Like Shaun, the last time we recorded, I was talking about how like there was a TV show that had a great premise that wasted it. I was hoping this wasn't going to be a waste of a great premise. So with this, I know that it has like a.
Funny enough, you say that. Toes, bad reviews. I mean, I got the IMDb thing up at me, and I was just sort of got it up because I thought I'm sat by a computer, and it's like 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10.
Oh, cool. So audience score is quite high.
9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Unexpected, incredible, funny movie that does not insult intelligence.
All right,
so that's what I like. That is what I like.
All right, cool. And because it has this big, massive, sprawling, diverse cast. And it always made me think of when I saw the cast and I saw some of the trailers, it made me think of like a Coen Brothers movie like Fargo or something like that, only with bear fueled on cocaine in the middle of it. Does that hold or not?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think Fargo's an overrated movie. It's one of my overrated films.
I will agree on that. Yeah.
Everybody raves about it. I don't think it's that good. The best Coen Brother film, I think, was The Man That Never Was. I think something like that. But
The Man Who Wasn't There. Yeah.
The Man Who Wasn't There. That's the one. Yeah. That's the best. But yeah, no, I think it's highly overrated, Fargo. So yeah, no, this is far out past Fargo. I didn't really laugh too much in Fargo, but this, I was like enjoying it every minute of it. Even at the end, because you got like a family of bears, haven't you? Which sort of, and towards the end, you got like a family of bears, and you got the mum and the 2 kids. So it's almost like I don't know, position. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot in this movie, and because it's 80s, the fashions are really good, and it just was like, yeah, this is they were a bit exaggerated, but you could definitely see it. The 80s, it had that real 80s feel about it.
All right. Okay. So how many stars does all this enjoyment translate to?
Well, for me, from a personal point, I mean, I don't know if it's worth it, but for me, from a personal point of view, I've got to give this 4 because I've seen it twice and both times I thoroughly enjoyed it. So this has to get a 4 from me.
All right, Sharon.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was very funny, but I'd give it a 3. I think it was it's funny. I enjoyed it. Yeah, but it is what it is. It was it was like a cross between.
So you're laughing now, Sharon. That doesn't happen very often. If you can come out of a movie still chuckling and then get nearly home and then you can start chuckling again with bits, and then especially the leg.
Some funny moments, yeah. Well, there was a couple of leg incidents. There was one, I think. Well, there's a few like sort of body horror moments where people sort of like see limbs missing and they sort of go.
And what about the ambulance one? What about the ambulance?
I have heard about this ambulance scene. I've heard about this. Like people say that it's like the best action set piece in the film. All right, I look forward to when my family lets me out of the house, or when I can sort of squirrel a couple of hours. I look forward to hopefully maybe seeing Cocaine Bear. So that's Cocaine Bear. 3.5 stars is our aggregate score for that. And now we go over to Netflix and Friends. And Shaun, because obviously we're chasing your battery here, we go over to you, and we go over to 1923. And this gets a little bit confusing because Sharon reviewed a related TV series which was 1883.
Yes, which is the first prequel.
Yeah, I get I could get confused about this. First prequel to Yellowstone, and then now this is another prequel to Yellowstone, but a sequel to 1883, which is 1923. This one starring Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. Shaun, tell us what it was about.
Okay, so this is 8 episodes. I mean, it's like I said, I know Sharon in the 1883, Sharon reviewed that, but I saw that on the plane coming back from when I was back from America. I watched the whole series and I really enjoyed it. So I was really up for this. And it does disappoint. So basically, it's a time when you're starting to get automobiles, and you're starting to, really it's the turn of the old west. So, but Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, they still run a ranch, beef ranch. They've still got cowboys. There's a bunch of them. They've got a family, and then there's some sheep farmers. There's a couple of incidents that go on, and they basically, it's like a lynching, but one of the people that was lynched was survived, and he teams up with a mining company. And so basically, it's just a conflict between the new world. All these things have got fridges. All houses will have electricity from that day. Also, there's another side thing to this. One of the Dutton sons, he is in Africa as a big game hunter. So,
oh yeah,
and he sort of, because of the stuff goes on, some people get killed in the family. He gets a letter. And so it's a little bit of a journey back. He has to make a journey back from Africa, and he meets this English girl, really, really posh English girl, who is absolutely first class. And I didn't realise she was an American, but she plays a really high society English lady, and she's engaged to a high class Englishman, but she falls in love with this and. With the hunter, and they go, and she wants to go with him, and then so you've got, and another side plot is there's a Catholic. They're trying to with Native Americans. They're sort of trying to get them. They call them heathens, and they are horrible. They are foul. They are just, these nuns and priests are just the foulest people you could possibly think of. They torture and they're cruel.
Oh, trying to convert them to get them more civilized.
Yeah, that's it. Yes. So get the heathen out of them. They sort of bathe them with wire brushes and things. Anyway, so without being too many spoilers, there's an incident, and one of the girls does something, and she takes off, and then 3 priests go after her, and then you've got the deputies that go after her. So there's a bit of this manhunt thing. She goes into, so there's like 3 threads running through this film. There's a Native American thread, there's the Duttons, and there's this one where he's in Africa, and it's blooming brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant series. I can't wait. I can't wait for the next one to come, because it's got really, really exciting. Lots of action, really believable, and the relationship between the English girl. I can't think of the actress now. Let's see if I can find out.
Is the English girl called Elizabeth Strafford?
That sounds about right. Yes. Yes.
Michelle Randolph is the actress.
Michelle Randolph, right. So she's oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, totally. And I mean, for me,
yeah, because usually we hear that the other way around. It's like, oh, I didn't realize they were British. They did such a good. Usually, what I get a lot more nowadays is you see somebody in a new show, and you're like, oh my god, that's a good American actress. You look them up, they're Australian.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's the whole thing. But the actual relationship between the two of them, is so convincing, really, really incredibly convincing, that they are like just totally in love. And there's some incidents. Obviously, they just happen to get one of the passengers on one of the ships they actually get married on a ship, but one of the passengers, the family, her ex-fiance is on this, and she goes, "We're still going to go to the captain's table." And she gets all dressed up, and there's an incident. And they have to, the sort of, the British ship goes, "This is the British ship. We've had the thing. We're going to have to dump you off. You can't stay here." And we're going. So yeah, so there's a lot of it's terrific. It's terrific. Really, really, really top class series. Loving it.
All right. Oh, cool. So how many episodes is it? Do you remember?
8 episodes. There's 8 episodes.
This is on Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus, yeah.
Because I had a friend asking me earlier this week. He's based in America, and he was like, "Oh, have you seen Yellowstone yet?" And I was like, "No, it's on Paramount Plus. That's another streaming platform, and I do not have money to go."
You see, I haven't seen Yellowstone, but you've seen Yellowstone, haven't you, Sharon?
Only some of them, because No, I've only because I watched 1883 first. Then I
Which is
started
great.
to watch Yellowstone.
Right.
But again, my subscription I only had it on a temporary
Basis,
free.
yeah.
It was free for so many months, and I didn't get around to watching it all.
Get your brother to do
My
the
brother's
free.
watched them all. My brother's
Has
watched
he?
all of Yellowstone.
Oh, right. Okay. Yellowstone. Yeah. But I was going to say you could. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. But so no, this is a terrific series. There's 8 episodes. As I say, there's 3 storylines. It's incredibly well acted.
You can get a free 7-day trial, but whether I'd be able to commit to a free 7-day trial and then do nothing else but watch the television for 7 days, I don't know if I could commit to that.
I think it's
one of those ones. I think it's one of those ones you can binge watch. I mean, I was watching it as you know, I had to wait for each episode, so and I couldn't sort of wait. And the last one was this week, so and I thought there was going to be some more, but I only realised this week that was the
finale.
Episode 8 was the last episode. Yeah, so I've been saving this one. But it's absolutely first class, top, really, really good series. Really, really enjoying it. You've even got who was in The Living Daylights?
Timothy Dalton.
Timothy Dalton is a horrible, horrible, rich, incredibly nasty miner.
He does that very well.
Timothy Dalton does. He plays really nasty characters.
He does horrible, nasty, rich man very, very well.
Yeah, very well.
Sinister to him. I don't know why.
What was that he said?
He's slightly sinister looking at times. I think that
can be.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, that's what works for him. Like even in Hot Fuzz, which is ostensibly a comedy, you can look at him and just go, yeah, he's sinister. There's something up with him.
And like Penny Dreadful, he veered between sort of good and bad in that, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was in the last season of The Crown. He was really good. He shows up for one episode of the last season of The Crown, and he manages to turn that thing, like that nastiness thing, off for 45 minutes. But I can also see that this.
I remember him in Flash Gordon. Prince, I can't remember what his name was.
Yeah, Flash Gordon was like the only other place I'd seen Timothy Dalton in, apart from him as Bond, was Flash Gordon and the TV series of Jane Eyre. He played Mr. Rochester.
He was the best Mr. Rochester as Jane Eyre. My favourite version of Jane Eyre.
Well, that was the random. You know how I always tell you how we got random stuff in Nigeria when I was growing up?
Yeah.
We randomly had that version of Jane Eyre on TV in Nigeria when I was growing up, and I never understood it. I think they showed it out of sequence or something like that, so I could never follow that story. Sense. I was like, what the hell? This is boring as anything. But
that is my favourite version of Jane Eyre.
But I have to say, there is one person in this cast who is rapidly becoming, for me, a signal of this is quality, gotta watch it, she's in it. And that is Jennifer L. Jennifer L has because obviously she was known as the Elizabeth Bennet to Colin Firth, Mr. Darcy, and she has never really had an A-list career where she's the number one name on there. But she just keeps popping up in all these different things, like in Contagion and in The King's Speech and all that. And I really like Jennifer L, and I think that if she's in something, I will give it a go. So maybe one of these days.
Was it House of Elliot? She originally started in House of Elliot, which is going back a lifetime, and it was sort of costume drama about her and a sister who were.
I think that was someone else.
Is it someone?
I did watch House of Elliot.
She might have been in it.
She was in She Said, wasn't she? And she as one of the victims.
Yeah.
And all of the
50 Shades.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. You just made me take back what I said. Okay, fine. I won't watch anything that Jennifer L is in.
There are good people, disconcertingly, in 50 Shades. Many of them. It's just.
I hope
they're in awfulness.
I hope that they are still counting their money. That's all I can say. I hope all the good people in 50 Shades are still counting their money. Anyway, we forgot to ask how many stars for 1923.
Okay. Well, out of the criteria, I don't think I've ever given this for a series before, but I was totally engrossed in it. I was totally, I wasn't like, and I mean, bearing in mind you watch this at home and you can get distracted sometimes. I was totally focused on it. I really enjoyed it. I thought the acting was first class. So this is going to be I don't think I've ever given a streaming service a 5 before, but I'm going to give this one a 5. I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say it's a 5.
Already and straight away, Paramount Plus goes above Netflix in Shaun's estimation. So... All right, cool. So that is a 5 for 1923. And now we go over to what is probably the biggest film of this week, but we decided to sort of fight Shaun's battery. So we're going to talk about Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, this is the latest, the 30-something. I think we're now into the 30s in the number of Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. I think this is actually the 31st movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this is the third Ant-Man movie. And quite frankly, if you're not with the Marvel Cinematic Universe at this point, you probably never are going to be, and you probably really don't care. But they have all these things where you have the one big franchise, which is the MCU. Then within that, you have tiny little franchises, and so Ant-Man is his own franchise. And this kicks off where you meet Ant-Man, Scott Lang, in the aftermath of everything that happened in Endgame. And he has written a book about what he's done, and the fact that he's like, yes, I was Ant-Man, I was an Avenger, I helped save the world because of me, that's why you're all here, and all that kind of, and he has like a book deal, and he's a bit of a celebrity, and he starts off with this whole thing about how life is good, and there's this montage of how life is good for him and all that. But then you have his daughter, sorry, were you going to say something, Shaun?
No. Sorry, I'm just eating a corn crisp because I haven't had any dinner yet.
Yeah, you have his daughter Cassie, who is now played by Catherine Newton. She has been recast, I think, three, maybe 4 times in all the Ant-Man movies. She's now played by Catherine Newton, and she is more of an activist, a little bit like if you remember when we first met Scott Lang in the first Ant-Man movie, how he was an activist, how he couldn't get a job because he'd done something to stick something to a big corporation, and she's now going along and railing against the 1%. And there's this whole thing at the beginning of the film where they're talking about the fact that he's given up as a hero and he isn't actually doing anything to help anybody. He's just helping himself. And he's like, yeah, boy, save the world. And they're like, yeah, but what have you done lately? And you can see that there's this sort of family that has built up with the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym, his wife, Janet Van Dyne, their daughter, Hope Van Dyne, who is in a relationship with Scott Lang and Scott Lang's. So there's this sort of like little family dynamic. They have this sort of little ant family going on. And it turns out that his daughter Cassie is beginning to get into science and has been tinkering some stuff that Hank Pym has been helping her with. And Ant-Man has always been worried about the quantum realm, which is where Janet Van Dyne was trapped for a while. And she doesn't tell anybody about what happened when she was in the quantum realm. She refuses to talk about it. And so they build this thing to send a signal to the quantum realm. She's like, what? You're sending a signal to the quantum realm? Turn it off! Turn it off! But something happens. They send a signal to the quantum realm. Something sends a signal back. And then they all get sucked into the quantum realm. And that's where the film goes on. So the whole film is set in this quantum realm, which is tiny. It is subatomic. And you go in there and it is weird. And that's the main thing about the quantum realm is that it is weird. And this is where I think the film this is one of the things I love about this film. I love about this film that it totally embraces the fact that the quantum realm is weird, and it uses the fact that the quantum realm is weird to do this, or to do all this stuff that they probably wouldn't be able to get away with otherwise. For instance, there is a character in Marvel who is, for many people, saying he's one of the dumbest characters in all of Marvel's history. One of the dumbest characters in all of Marvel's history. But he is extremely popular, and people have been saying, when is this guy going to show up in the film? When's this guy going to show up in the film? And the quantum realm is probably about the only place they could have brought this character in. And they totally lean into that. They bring this character in. The way they even bring him into the story to make it make sense with the Ant-Man thing, I actually quite liked. I thought it was funny, and I was very, very much prepared to have a conversation with you guys as to whether Marvel has had its day and whether Marvel has started running out of steam. And I really enjoyed this. I was sitting down there waiting for the moment where there was going to, there's, I think in some of the recent films, like Thor, Love and Thunder, had this moment. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had this moment where you're watching the film and there's a moment where you just kind of go, oh no. Oh, I think this might be going bad from this point on.
Toes, I do think there is one thing in this, which I found, I think it was in the one where the Vision gets stabbed. I can't remember what that was. Whether it was
that was in Endgame. That was Infinity
Endgame.
War. Infinity War, yeah.
So Infinity War. So in to me there was. I just had the. I'm with you on this. I mean, I did enjoy it, but I just thought it was inconsistent with the power of some person that was earlier in the movie. It's like, well, if you've got those powers, you know what I mean. It's like,
yeah.
So you've got this super powerful being that suddenly becomes not quite so super powerful, you know? Did you understand what I mean?
I understand what you mean. There are a couple of bits. Where, one of the things that gets me is that, okay, so Ant-Man's power is to go big or small. And then when you go into the quantum realm, does that power still mean anything? insane because now you're now smaller than you've ever been before. And this is this is the thing where why I really like this film. I enjoy this film. I was carried all the way through to the end of this film without having anything where I thought, okay, now I'm out of it. Now I'm out of it. There were minor quibbles, but I think so. At the moment, Everything Everywhere All at Once, that's being talked about for Oscars and everything like that. And that's because that film is untethered. It is untethered in almost every single sense of the word. It's just unhinged. And you had Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which did something similar to Everything Everywhere All at Once, but it had to keep coming back to this Marvel thing. It had to keep coming back to this, and it couldn't go too crazy because you know that there's this bigger story that they still have to sort of link to. And in Antman and the Wasp, you can still, in Quantumania, you can feel bits where it's trying to go all crazy and trying to go all gonzo. And, they give you, okay, cool, look at this. We're going to give you this guy that everybody has to drink. There's a guy who everybody drinks, quite frankly. There's a guy with a broccoli head. There's a guy who has a laser for a face. And they give you all this crazy stuff. But you can almost feel it pulling back and going, but, we still have to make this make sense because we still have to link this. And there's going to be this bad guy called Kang. And he's going to be the new Thanos. And he's going to come in other films. So we're going to have to pull it back a little bit because we're going to give you this story, but the story kind of isn't really going to go anywhere because there's a whole bunch of other pieces that we're not ready to activate yet, and these guys have to stay in this spot until we're ready to activate this thing that's going to happen in 7 movies time. And I think that is the problem I had because I thought I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the flights of fancies. There's a bit that has a million Scots and a million hopes. I was enjoying all these little bits, but you could feel it pulling back because it was like, oh wait, no, we can't do that yet. Oh no, we can't do that with Kang yet because we're still going to do this, and so you can feel, and I feel that the overarching Marvel story between all these different films might be holding back the individual films because in the individual films you can't do whatever you want. You can't chase all the questions you want because the quantum realm, there's so much stuff in the quantum realm that I've finished this thinking I would not mind seeing a quantum realm TV show because there's so much in there. There's so much.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go, I think, Toes, because I'm really it's starting to come up low battery now.
Okay, cool. But Shaun, quickly before you go, how many stars would you give it?
I'll give this one a 3-star. 3-star for me. I look forward to what the other guys say. So I'll give this one a 3 for me. But I'm gonna go because I might need the phone, and I've only got about 7%. So
all right.
I'll see you guys later. Love you.
See ya. Bye. Okay, but Holly, enough from me. What did you think?
I very much enjoyed it. But my enjoyment sits within the framework of enjoyed it and it's an Ant-Man film.
Yep.
So they are less, I'm going to say that I use this grudgingly, less cerebral. Not that I could really describe any Marvel films as cerebral per se.
Oh, I don't know, Civil War. The Captain American ones, yeah.
Yeah, that is true. And actually there are, I'm going to give touches of touches of Black Widow have moments of being reasonably cerebral.
Yeah, true.
All sorts of, moral and ethical questions in there. So I really enjoyed it. I very much walked out thinking this is a solid 4 out of 5, but it is a 4 out of 5 for an Ant-Man film. And I've not seen a 5 out of 5 Ant-Man film. So I always find them a little bit silly, and bits of it I always find a little bit irritating, and I can't quite put my finger on why.
Yep.
But there's just something that always very, very, very slightly grates, but still makes me laugh. So
I can see that. I can really, really see that. With that, I mean, I think Jonathan Majors, who plays Kang, who is going to be the new big bad in the MCU, I thought he was actually terrifying. I thought as a bad guy, he is genuinely terrifying. He just has this thing about him, and there's this stillness about him, and there's this there's a line he says. There's a line he says to Ant-Man when he goes, and it's almost like a throwaway line. He just goes, "You're lucky I need you," and in that one line and the way he says it, you're kind of like, "Whoa, this dude is not messing about."
Yeah, and I think you're right. I hadn't thought of it. It's the stillness.
Yeah. It was just this stillness where he just knows that he can destroy everybody around him at any time. He knows he can destroy everybody. I think that there's bits about it where I feel like the inventiveness of it and the inventiveness of the quantum realm does go away a bit. Like like, I'm thinking, I love the fact that you have all these different creatures. They're not even aliens; they're just sort of creatures because and they try not to just do guy with something on his face, but they still have some people in this quantum realm who just look like people, and it's kind of like. That's why. So the quantum realm makes me want to explore it. It makes me want to explore it more. But I think that the performances are good. They all work. Although, I've heard criticism of the Ant-Man movies that they don't give Hope Van Dyne, who's played by Evangeline Lilly, anything to do. And in this film, I was like, oh my God, they've done it again. She has she has nothing to do. This film is a lot more about Michelle Pfeiffer than it is about yeah.
And Michelle Pfeiffer was clearly enjoying herself.
Oh yeah.
I thought that really came across as that she was having fun.
Yeah, I think and I think the performances really work, and by this time the characters, they are a bit fleshed out, quite frankly, and so this film is almost kind of like it's like the Avengers if everybody had Ant-Man's powers, kind of thing, a bit like that.
Yeah.
Where the Ant family is growing and all, but I really liked it. I was surprised. And you know, when you were talking about it being like because I was sitting down there going, okay, this is good, this is solid, this is 3, this is a good 3-star film. I left from going, okay, it's a 3-star film, but I was like, no, that was really fun. That was a really fun film, and so for me, I've got to go over to a 4 because I think it's really fun. It gives me hope for the Marvel universe going forward. However, I have to keep reiterating anytime we talk about anything Marvel, because the big thing in Marvel is the multiverse. That's the multiverse. They have come out now. They're not sort of dancing around it. It's the multiverse. I mean, the whole thing that we're going towards a multiversal war where you're going to have all these different factions fighting against each other. And I think it's going to destroy the MCU. I hate the multiverse. I think it leads to lazy storytelling. I think Marvel are spinning too many plates, because I think that beforehand it used to be that they would be making a film and that film had all of their attention. And I feel like the attention to detail and the attention to quality is being diluted across too many projects. So each one of them doesn't quite hit the same way it is. And I think that the overarching story that all these things need to sit within, because they all need to sit within this story and they need to sort of link back to this bigger story of this place where we're going, is hampering individual stories that could have been great. Because if there's quite a few ways that I was looking at, I was going, oh, you know what? If they finish the film this way, that would be good. Oh, if they finish the film this way, that would be good. If this character ended up in that place, that would be interesting. And there were so many avenues where you could see something interesting that could happen. But at the same time, you know, they can't do it because there's stuff coming along in 6-7 films for time that they have to link into. And so I thought that they did a good balancing act between giving you something new, something crazy, something inventive, and also sticking to a template which they have to stick to because they're going to have to give you the Kang Dynasty in God knows how many films time. I thought they did a good job, but at the same time, I'm in mourning for all the paths that were not taken.
Can I ask a question as someone who hasn't seen it?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it will get in there because I'm a bit sporadic. I did try to watch most of the Marvel output, but yes. I've just almost given up basically on any of the television ones, any of the Disney Plus ones, because I've got so far behind that it'll be impossible for me. I have to go back to things like Loki, which I haven't, I've got long to catch up on.
Yeah.
So how much? But there's with this sort of next phase of Marvel, how much prior knowledge do you need? I mean, is it because I know with some of the films, you almost needed to see nearly all of them for the pieces to fit together, whereas this one's where I've started to miss more than I've seen in the last couple of years.
I think having seen that, you certainly would have wanted to see the last Antman the Wasp, and I think it helps. I think it gives.
Because I've seen the Antman
it does. Okay, yeah.
But I haven't seen all of the Marvel films. Like I haven't seen Wakanda Forever, and there's the last couple of films I have missed out on. So I'm not sure if it's how much of the strings they're pulling together yet, or whether it's still sort of far enough apart that you can start. I think it can still pick up on the next arc.
I think you can pick up on this film. I think this film is pretty much. It's very close to standalone. So I think if you've seen the Ant-Man movies and Endgame, I think you're good.
Yeah, and I think even without Endgame, you would. No, I think you probably do need Endgame.
I think you need Endgame to understand why Ant-Man is. Everyone is thinking Ant-Man is this amazing hero guy. So so I think the Ant-Man movies and Endgame, low-key season 1 would help a bit, but not much. You can still understand this without. Let me just put it this way: this is the second time we have seen Kang on screen. So, and I think Kang is going to. There's
Where
a film
was he
coming.
before? What was he in before?
Oh, that would be telling.
Oh, I see. Because I was going to say, when you said Kang, I'm thinking, am I supposed to know who that is?
Some people will not know who he is, but he is the new Thanos. Essentially, he's the new Thanos.
Okay.
Has a totally different thing to that. But with the whole multiverse thing, I think we're going to see more versions of Kang show up before there's a film called the next Avengers movie is called Avengers: The Kang's Dynasty. And there's going to be quite a few Kangs that we're going to see and a few inflections of Kang before that film comes. But anyway, I would have given it 4. I think, Holly, you said 4 as well. Yep. Shaun said a 3. We're going to, put that together. But I would say I really enjoyed this, and it made me think, okay, maybe Marvel can pull this back, because we're now officially in phase 5. Phase 4 was a bit hit and miss, but this is good. Right, and now let's see. Sorry. I just realized that seeing as Holly has just received what seems to be a food order.
No, it's correction. It's wine, olives, and nuts. As my friend who lives next door is coming around for a drink later.
Okay, cool. That counts as food. I heard at least 2 food groups in there.
Definitely 2 food groups, and wine is a fruit, so made from grapes, which are a fruit. So that's 3 food groups.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So with that case, seeing as you're about to take a bite out of that, would you like to tell us about First Bite?
Oh, witty.
I know. I saw that, and I was like, oh my god, food. First Bite. Ah!
Laughed. I almost did.
All right, cool.
Is a series on Netflix, which came out at some point, probably this year, I think. I'd seen it showing up as a recommended thing to watch for some time, so thought, I might as well. Time has come. And the premise is that there are, in this town, a family of vampires who are, lovely, friendly people, apart from the killing people thing. And in that family, there are a mother, whom it turns out is a special sort of vampire, a husband, 2 daughters, and a son who is I think a twin of one of the daughters, who is not around and is something of a pariah. And the older daughter has happily embraced her vampirism, and as born vampires, she and her siblings at some point have to get on and drink blood. And she has thoroughly embraced it, including the fact that she has this unusual ability that she can control people's memories. The youngest child, a daughter, is not really comfortable with the idea of getting on and killing somebody, and she wants to carry on as normal a life as possible. And she's off at school and doing school things and being a teenager. And at school she meets a girl, and she is rather taken by this girl, who is new to the school and is very attractive. And there are smiles and glances, and you can see that there is some sort of mutual attraction here. It turns out that the girl comes from a family of monster killers, who obviously, as the name suggests, hunt monsters, and vampires are monsters. So you have this situation with 2 young women who are very taken with each other.
Sorry, that was me.
Oh, okay, that's all right. I blame you for that then. Yeah. They get into a relationship together after a number of hurdles and, trying to kill each other and things. And their families have to deal with the fact that their daughters are in relationships with people whom they thoroughly disapprove of. And there are local tensions increasingly building between vampires and their long traditions and where they've lived peacefully below the radar for many years, apart from the killing people, but they're quite good at hiding that, and the monster hunters. And there is stuff going on.
Okay, so I was just checking because I thought something was wrong. It's not actually called First Bite, it's called First Kill, isn't it?
Yes, you are correct. It's his first kill.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. So good. Oh man, that kills my lovely pun. Oh, never mind.
We'll keep it then. We'll keep it.
Yeah, we'll keep it in. All right, cool. So we have this. So there's stuff going on. This has young adult written all over it. Young adult fantasy written all over it.
It's a good Romeo and Juliet, except they are slightly older, therefore slightly less stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet, but they're both the same sex. They're both the same sex, and so. Did you ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Of course.
Okay, of course. Yeah, stupid question. Stupid question. I apologize. But is this any different from Buffy and Spike if Spike was a girl?
Yes.
Okay, cool, good.
Yes,
because
very different.
All right, good. Because this is something that I saw, and I saw this come up like, First Kill and everything, and there was all the stuff that Netflix pushes in your face, and I looked at it and it came across like somebody essentially went, "Ooh, let's make Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but imagine if she was gay," and I was just kind of like, you see some shows where they just have that one note concept where it's like, "Ooh, let's make blah blah blah," but imagine if it's like, let's make let's make Hill Street Blues, but imagine if the central character was a dog, that kind of thing. and this made me wonder if it was just one of those kind of like Die Hard on a boat.
No, I mean it's got complexity to it, more complex. I mean, relatively speaking, it's got a good amount of silliness. It has family conflicts, different ideals, the sort of classic teen thing of fighting against who you are, who your family want you to be versus who you are versus where love takes you.
Oh yeah.
But and some of it quite dark, not like insanely, not sort of
not sitting in a dark room rocking back and forth. Dark.
No, and it's not, given my propensity to hide when watching things that are scary, even though I do it compulsively, I felt no need to get a cushion out and hide behind it. Not that level of dark. I found it very interesting, which is, relatively speaking, I feel that it deserves a second watch because I don't think I paid enough attention to it, and I think there may be a bit more to it than my light attention giving warrants. But yeah, I will watch it again because I watch everything again, but also I want to sort of fill in some of the gaps. I thought the cast was good. It was comfortably silly / completely ridiculous at times. I mean, obviously, it's not coming from the most profound premise, is it? But you do have a town where all of these ridiculous things are going on, and the town has a history of monsters. So, it's a
Sunnydale.
It is. There is an element of Sunnydale, except the town know about it.
Oh, okay.
And there's a Charlene Harris one, isn't there? What's that one? Midnight Texas, is it? Is that the one?
Yes.
Well, that's a town full of monsters as well.
Yeah, this one is not currently full of. They do not believe it is currently full of monsters. The locals are oblivious, but are always concerned about the monsters coming back. So it's a fun watch. It's a silly watch, but it's also got a bit of substance to it.
All right, cool. How many stars would you give First Kill?
I'm going to give it 3.
First bitey kill. I'm going to call it first bitey kill.
First bitey kill. I think it's a solid 3. It could depend. I mean, it's clearly lined up for a second series because whatever isn't these days.
Although it's on Netflix, and now Netflix has become more and more the place of not getting a second season. And First Kill has actually been cancelled. I'm pretty sure it's been cancelled, so there is not going to be a second season of First Kill.
Oh well, that's a cliffhanger ending then.
I'm going to call it Bite Bite Kill Kill. That's it. Bite Bite Kill Kill.
Bite Bite Kill Kill. Yes. Well,
they're becoming a bit more ruthless with their bucks.
Yeah, it will be a shame not to see a second series of Bite Bite Kill Kill.
No, honestly, Netflix have become quite ruthless this year. I mean, this year they have cancelled a lot of stuff, especially in the YA space, so the young adult space, which means that something like First Kill totally had his neck on the block from the second it was made. So there's a whole bunch of shows that, I mean, there was one called The Bastard Son and His Devil Itself. It's gone.
Yeah. Oh no! I wanted to see the second series of that.
No second series. Fate the Winx Saga, that's gone.
That was quite boring by the end, 2/3 of the way through the second series. So
I only watched the first episode. I got fed up with that.
Didn't get any better.
I'm hoping Lock and Key is gone because that bored me. And I never finished the first season.
Smoke and Bone? No.
Shadow and Bone.
Shadow and Bone.
Shadow and Bone. Back? I don't know. I think it's back, but I'm not sure if it's back for one more season and then that's it. So it
sort of 8 books, so that it all ties in with.
I think that there's a new one, Lockwood and Co. from Joel Cornish.
Yes, the Ghostbusters sort of thing, isn't it?
The Ghostbusters kind of thing. Apparently, that has been renewed for a second season, I think.
Oh, good, because I liked that as well.
Yeah, but honestly, with Netflix, you are if you go to Netflix and you're making a young adult TV show, you're kind of like dicing with death a bit. And Joel Cornish, who made Lockwood and Co., he admitted it, but he was kind of like, hey, no one else was giving us the money to make it, so the fact is you're either going to get to make one good season of something that you really like or none. So
and you never know, it might get picked up by somebody else afterwards. So
it might get picked if Netflix allows it, but we'll see. So now we go back to cinema. And we talk about what's love got to do with it, which Sharon saw. Not as you might think. You might think, hang on, haven't we already heard of that film? Wasn't that the Tina Turner biopic? And yes, there was a Tina Turner biopic starring Angela Bassett and what's his face, Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, which was Oscar nominated. This is not that film. This is a film that has everything. Well, essentially, I think it's got Lily James, and Lily James is in danger.
Oh.
Well, yeah, she is ubiquitous. She is everywhere, and she is in danger of becoming the British rom-com queen or the British rom-com person, and I think, and this might be, I don't know, because he had the poster of this film made me think, oh god, the poster of this film made me think I know exactly what this film is, which may be wrong. And Sharon, I'll let you talk to us about the film, but I think the fact that you had Lily James on a poster in what begins as a friendship and is going to end up in some sort of unrequited love, is going to end up in a relationship with a South Asian man. I'm like, didn't we just see this woman yesterday? Yeah. It's like, didn't we see it yesterday? And so so essentially the poster and the advertising for this film has not done much to make me think this is anything worth seeing. But Sharon, tell us about what's love got to do with it.
What's love got to do? Yeah, it starts off with the main protagonist, you're right, is played by Lily James. She grew up in sort of this London suburb and with her mum, Emma Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And their next door neighbours, the Shahs, are a family where there's a son of a similar age to her, and 2 sons and a daughter. And they are a family of Pakistani origin, or they're the sort of subcontinent origin anyway. And they're a Muslim family, but they've become very close over the years. They grew up together. They've always been in a relationship together. They had fun, and they've been mates and pals for a long, long time. And Lily James sort of moved away from home, and she's become a journalist, makes a documentary maker and a journalist. Yep. So she makes these sort of edgy, cutting edge sort of documentaries, and so she has been given this sort of brief that they want her to make something real, but a bit less sort of serious, because she's done things on domestic abuse and on various different really hard hitting subjects. And they say, yeah, we want you to sort of make something a bit more edgy, but a bit more happy. And so her best friend, her neighbour, has decided that he's now in his 30s. He's a doctor. He's a registrar, and it's time he settled down. And he's decided to go down his traditional family route, which is to have an arranged marriage. That in his family, that it has worked for his parents, and one of his siblings has had an arranged marriage, and that it's something that he thought, wow, it's worked for a lot of people I see around me, more than conventional, where you meet someone and then these relationships fall apart. He's going to trust in the tradition, and so he says, yes, I will agree to an arranged marriage. And so you see the process by which he meets his prospective wife, and how Lily James's character decides that this is the perfect opportunity I need to make a documentary that will cover, with their consent, and will see this sort of side of the culture that we haven't seen before. So becomes like a documentary maker. She follows the course of this relationship and the courtship, and how the families get involved, and how you don't really get to know your prospective spouse. More or less, they say several times in the film, this is not about falling in love. This is about walking into love. How sometimes if people sort of work well on paper, and then it may take a bit of time, but love grows rather than it appears. It grows. And so that was the sort of premise, and you see them walking, her sort of trying to sort of find her way through her own romantic feelings, that her mum has said, my vet is going to be perfect for you. So how she's trying to form her own, following her head rather than her heart, and you see her trying to form this relationship with her mother's vet, and then it draws to the conclusion where he goes through this marriage, and not is all as it would appear. When you do get to meet someone for the first time, and when there's sort of the veil comes off, as it were, literally, that what you see is not always what you expect it to be.
Oh,
so I don't want to give the ending away, but to be in some ways the ending is entirely predictable.
The ending's on the poster, so it's kind of like...
So in some ways I thought it was interesting, because again, it's outside my culture. Though saying that, I know I've got a couple of friends who are of Indian heritage, but they're Christians from an Indian background, and they had an arranged marriage, because it's not just a Muslim thing. It can be Christians from India and Christians from Bangladesh and Pakistan. Also, it's a cultural thing as well as not sort of religion, but they do emphasize the fact that this is like a Muslim ceremony as well as from sort of Pakistani Indian heritage. So it's interesting, but I thought it was a lost opportunity, actually. I thought I'd like to see that film of someone walking into love rather than falling into love, and it sets it up as being this doing something a bit different with a rom-com, and they get so far, then they go, you know what, we're going to do a normal rom-com, and so they just throw all that away, and they just fall back on the conventionalities.
It's like a bit like Antman. A bit like Antman is like, look, we're in the quantum realm. It's all crazy. It's all woo. It's like, whoa, too crazy. Pull it back.
Yeah, and this is like hey, no, we can't have a romantic comedy where they don't fall in love. We can't have a walking into love romance. It doesn't work. Sorry, my ears falling out again. So I thought to me it was a bit like, you know what, this could have been interesting. This could have been doing something different with taking this sort of conventional form and then doing something different with it. But no, they just fell back on the usual tropes. And I think I like Lily James. She is likable, which is probably why she does appear in normally everything. But I found Emma Thompson in this there's two versions of Emma Thompson. You get like the serious Emma Thompson where she's like, I'm acting now, and then you know that she's going to be acting throughout the whole film, and then you get like a panto version. And I got the feeling that we got
Last
panto.
Christmas was definitely panto Emma Thompson.
And I think this was panto Emma Thompson. She was like embracing her multiculturalism by by painting her house in really bright colours and wearing sort of semi-ethnic clothes, if you can use that phrase. So I was a bit like okay, panto version.
I've heard a bit about the Emma Thompson character, and people are kind of like saying, and people are saying things along the lines of, and I think this film is the kind of film that I can think that would set off my colonialism alarm kind of thing. It was set off my colonial. I'm like, but like people talk about the fact that but look her, she's really really friendly with her neighbors, and she has absolutely no problem having the food and everything like that. But every now and then she'll come up with something that's actually really really offensive or really really like racist or anything like that. And I was just kind of thinking, yeah, I know people like that. I know people like that. I've been in churches with people like that where they're really really nice and everything like that. But once it comes to like the cultural thing, there's just something. And so I there's bits about this like the whole idea that finding your own way and falling in love with somebody and everything like that is just so much more superior to having like an arranged marriage. And for me, there is this thing in there that essentially says, oh, the English culture is way better than the Indian culture, or like, you know, some tribes in Nigeria, or essentially most of the rest of the world is like, we're elevating our stuff above yours. And that I agree with you. I want to see the romantic comedy that's about an arranged marriage and how that actually works. And
how
I know
it can
that,
work, yeah.
yeah, I know that there are some bits in there's a film called Monsoon Wedding. Well, that is an Indian film, and there's a it's almost like an Indian Love Actually, to be honest with you. But there's a storyline in there that's all about this and how that works and all that. But I think let's explore how this actually works. Like, show me a film about the couple that have married 50 years and had an arranged or assisted marriage. I want to see that film.
Yeah, they use the term assisted marriage. Yeah, sorry, that's the term they're using it. Because the parents, you know, the parents of the male character, I forgot his name.
The actor Shazad Latif.
That's it. He's been a lot of things, hasn't he? Star Trek Discovery.
Discovery, yep.
All sorts of things. But yeah, his parents have had this assisted marriage, and they're the ones who sort of use the phrase, you know, this is about walking to love. And you can see that they have a genuine affection with them. I'm thinking, this is good. This is what you want to see. This sort of positive reinforcement of like someone's culture, and the fact that how you can do things differently. You don't have to fall back on the same old. And the fact that in some ways it's like if someone has been like have a disastrous love life, you know, why keep on making the same mistakes again and again and again? And in this film, it's almost like they gave lip service to saying, you know, we recognise that there might be value in this, and then they just go, actually, no, we want to do the whole falling in love thing. Okay. And I just thought it's an opportunity wasted for me.
All right, cool. I have a daughter yelling for me, so I'm just gonna tell you. But there was a rom-com that I saw and looked like I saw the poster and saw everything about it, and I thought this looks like everything I'm complaining about with the rom-com. Like, you know how it's going to go. It's called Somebody I Used to Know. It's on Prime Video. It stars Alison Brie, directed by Dave Franco, and the film kicks off. And essentially, this film looked so predictable, and I was like, I'm not going to bother with this because I think I know how this is going to end. And it was one of these things where, you know, there's a trope where everything is about there's somebody who seems to be in a happy relationship, but obviously this is Hollywood, so definitely that has got to be a lie. Nobody can be in a happy relationship. You have to go?
I have to go. Arrived.
Okay, cool. But before you go, Somebody I Used to Know, I skipped all I was so against this, I skipped all the way to the end of Somebody I Used to Know, and it surprised me. Like it did not go how I thought it would go. So now seeing the end, and I can't be able to go back to the rest of the film. but I would say Somebody I Used to Know, that might surprise you as a rom-com with a bit of a twist.
Curious.
All right. Okay, cool. Enjoy the nuts and the olives and the grapes and everything.
Wonderful. See you next week.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, so all that is left to talk about. Yeah, then there were two. We've been losing people this entire podcast. All that's left to talk about is Fleishman Is In Trouble.
And my score. I haven't scored it.
Oh, what score would you give Someone I Used to Know?
2 stars. I'd give it a 2.
I mean, what's love got to do with it? 2 stars for What's Love Got to Do with It.
Yeah, I think it was an opportunity wasted.
All right, cool. And now we go to Fleishman Is In Trouble. Fleishman Is In Trouble is on Disney Plus, and this is it's an adaptation of a book, from what I can understand. I never heard about the book, but it's an adaptation of the book, and it is Jesse Eisenberg stars as a guy called Dr. Toby Fleishman, who is a Jewish New Yorker who is married with 2 kids, but when you first meet him in the book, he has recently gotten divorced. He is co-parenting his 2 kids with his ex-wife. He is a doctor, and he thinks like, you know, being a doctor is its own reward and everything like that. However, his wife, because she started off her life with nothing, is really, really social climbing. She's a theater agent, and she's all about, we need to live on the Upper East Side. We need to have this really, really great apartment. We need to put the kids in all of these classes. We need to have all these different friends and all that. And that was a large part of what broke them apart. That's a large part of what broke them apart and led to them being divorced. And the whole premise of this is that he has started enjoying his single life. He has gotten onto all the apps. He has found a bevy of ladies who will have sex with him, like in New York. And the first episode is all about him going out there and doing that. Then at the end of the episode, he gets a voicemail from his wife, who says, I've had to go off for somewhere. The kids are with you. And she has snuck into his house in the middle of the night, dropped his kids off in the house, and she's gone off. And he's like, no, this isn't fair. I'm not supposed to have them until tomorrow. But he has the kids, and he goes on there. But as time goes on, she isn't picking up her phone. She isn't answering anything. He's trying to get in touch with her. And it appears that she has just abandoned the kids with him, and she has disappeared. And the show morphs because it's things like the show has a lot of narration, which I'm guessing is probably read directly from the book. But the narration is neither him nor his wife. The narration is his best friend, his best female friend, who he gets back in touch with. So there's 3 of them who went to Israel after they finished probably high school. After they finished high school, they went to Israel for like a year. Then they came back to the States, and he hasn't spoken to them in like 12 years because his wife didn't really get on with them and all that. But now that he gets back in touch with them, and it's all about. And it becomes this meditation on growing older and whether the person you were when you were younger is actually who you were, who you really were, and whether you're supposed to become when you get older. Is that okay to get older, or have you lost something of who you were supposed to be? And essentially, it's almost kind of like everybody in this show is having a midlife crisis, but a different type of midlife crisis. And they're asking all those questions. And the show that it seems to be in the first episode is totally not the show it is by the end, because the show it seems to be like a sort of Sex in the City, this man going around and seeing how many things he can stick his member into in New York. But by the end, totally different show. It's almost as if it's like Game of Thrones. Reel them in. Aha! Political intrigue. And so I really enjoyed it. This is one of the few things I've found myself recently watching and then just sort of like zooming all the way through to the end. There's 8 episodes, and I finished watching all of them within about 2 days.
Wow.
So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. I feel like Jesse Eisenberg, he's playing, and this is probably insensitive to say, but in film trope language, if you say New York Jewish man, it seems like the only way you can play that is like some version of Woody Allen.
Yeah, it's like Woody Allen, yeah, as you said.
Yeah, and
that's what you think of when you hear those phrases.
Yeah, but it makes because there's bits of this where it looks like Jesse Eisenberg is doing a Woody Allen impression. It's like with the voice, the everything, the mannerisms, and I'm thinking. So are you trying to tell me, is every Jewish New Yorker man neurotic? Neurotic, almost germophobic, kind of like, can hardly handle life, like socially awkward. And I'm thinking, but that seems to be all you are presented with. And that grated with me a bit, because I was thinking, hey, I don't know, maybe that is what Jewish male New York Jews are like. Maybe that's what they're like. But for me, I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, not again. Not just another person who just looks like Woody Allen. Are you just trying to tell me that Woody Allen is the archetypal New York Jew? I don't know. But that got a bit on my nerves. But I thought that the performances were great. Lizzie Kaplan as the friend. Adam Brody as his male best friend is good. The kid actors are really, really good. The kid actors are really, really good, because the daughter is kind of like almost like a clone of her mum and can't stand Fleishman, and the son is like, a lot more kind of, oh yeah, dad, yeah, and it's almost kind of still like, dad, you're my hero, that kind of thing, and it's a bit more like him. And you have Claire Danes who plays his wife, Rachel. And although there's bits about this talking about Jesse Eisenberg sort of copying Woody Allen, there's bits about this where Claire Danes, her performance is very, very, very reminiscent of her performance in Homeland as what was her name? Carrie something. It wasn't Carrie. No, it wasn't Carrie Fisher. But anyway, the woman in Homeland. It's very, very reminiscent, and there's some beats where you're kind of like, oh, okay. Did they not realize that this was going to look just like Homeland when they cast this? But all in all, I thought it was quite good. I thought it was the ending I find, and I think I've come to this conclusion. If you're really, really enjoying something, so much so that you're sort of zooming through it, I feel like the ending can only disappoint. And the ending can only disappoint because it means it's over. And it means that there's no much more. So the ending of this, there were still storylines that I was like, but what about that? What about that? I want closure. I want to know how that. Don't give me the artistic thing and say it's up to me to figure out what that means. No! Tell me how that ends. And so there was a little bit of that towards the end, but all in all, I think it was good, and I'll give this a 4 out of 5. So 4 out of 5 for Fleishman Is In Trouble. I would recommend it, Sharon, but be warned, especially the first episode. There's a hell of a lot of nipples.
Uh-oh.
So there's a hell of a lot of nipples, bum cheek. There's a bit where someone's naked in a swimming pool, and you see from a distance, but you see it, and it's but that lessens as you go through the episodes, and as it's almost kind of like, actually, it's almost kind of like it's adolescent at the beginning, but as you go old, it grows up. It's almost as if the show grows up. Yeah. But that's it. All right, cool. Who do you think has won this week?
I think it's going to be streaming Netflix and Friends this week.
It is streaming Netflix and Friends. A 5, a 3, and a 4. That's a hard score to beat.
That's a hard, yeah.
It's a hard score to beat.
And a game of cards, you would have had that hand.
Yes, and even if we took the highest score that everything on TV had, we had a 4, a 4, and a 2. So unfortunately, what's love got to do with it? Got the wrong couple together and hold cinema beneath the waterline this week. But until next week, I know we're dropping people, and you're probably one of us is probably about to drop. I have a kid yelling for me at the moment. Until next week, it's a goodbye from me,
and a goodbye from me.
And we will figure out what is in the cinema, what we're going to watch. But thank you so much for listening. Bye.